to the Australian Hypnosis Conference 2024, and I would like to thank Justine Lett from Hypnosis New Zealand for sponsoring this video. And today I have Jan Haldane all the way from New Zealand, and you're going to be talking about toxic relationship recovery. Number one, how did you come up with this topic? And two, how did you get into this topic? Because something tells me you didn't just wake up one day and go, I'm going to do this. Something had to have happened. Tell us more.
You're absolutely right, Trish. I didn't just wake up one day and think I've got to do this, but after having a few toxic relationships myself and working with a lot of women and knowing a lot of women actually, and of course some guys, that's I mean, my father, my God, he was the epitome of suffering from a toxic relationship.
Yes.
So I've got sympathy for the guys, but I mainly tend to work with women. And I just heard so many horror stories. And people are trying to, I mean, I'm a relationship coach as well as running a training school, and I teach conventional relationship coaching as well, and that's fine to a point. But if you're in a relationship with a toxic person, the stock standard relationship coaching stuff doesn't work.
Correct. Yeah, have to agree. Yeah,
it does not work. And what I've found happens to people is they may go along to a therapist of some kind, or a counsellor, or generally a talk therapist, because they really need to talk about it. That's the first thing that they want to do, because the poor brain is trying to make sense of this stuff that's been happening in this relationship, which has absolutely done their head in.
Yeah, because it's not natural.
No, it's not. So people are going along to see somebody and they're trying to make sense of this, and then they find somebody who doesn't understand toxic relationships or narcissistic relationships, or whatever term you like to use, and the client of that person becomes re-traumatized. And that is absolutely awful, because they're in a terrible state anyway, and then they've got someone basically telling them often that maybe it's their own fault.
And somebody who also isn't in the situation, let alone had any experience with it. Because there's other things that could be outside that aren't being mentioned or haven't come to the table yet because the correct question hasn't been asked. Would that be correct to say?
Absolutely, Trish, you're right on it. And what can happen is a lot of people who are in toxic relationships or have just got out of them, they feel something called toxic shame. So they're very ashamed. They feel it's only me.
Like
how could it be so stupid as to get into a relationship with that person? And the sad thing is, it's not just uninformed therapists that they go to see, it's society itself will often turn around and say, oh, well, you shouldn't have, you shouldn't have been dating him, or you shouldn't have been in a relationship with him.
Can we also blame Hollywood?
Yeah, possibly.
Netflix as well.
Yeah, the whole relationship, the whole thing about love on the planet Earth is a bit of a crock, and people are getting false, I guess, a false impression of
Ally McBeal on TV. Was that ever a thing over in New Zealand?
I remember it being on, but I didn't watch it. I'm not a huge TV person, but
I watched it just recently. Like, I rewatched it as I remember watching that when I was younger and thinking it was amazing. And I've rewatched it and gone, all you people need therapy. That's a red flag. That's a red flag. Why would you do that? Why would you be so horrible to someone that you're in a relationship with and deliberately pick a fight? Like, what? So can we blame TV?
We certainly can blame TV, we can blame Hollywood, we can blame all the streaming things, and a lot of people's old notions of what a relationship is. I mean, you look at these people that have been married 40, 50 years. I mean, in my age group, I mean, you're young to me, but in my age group, I could have been married 40-something years quite easily, but wasn't.
And you probably didn't recognize that you were in this toxicity as such, is that right?
Well, my first husband, I wouldn't say was toxic per se, but he was a player. So anyway, it was years ago. I was young. it's all, you know, all
We're all
over that
stupid
sort
back
of
then.
stuff. Well, you know, I think like was a starter marriage, quite honestly. You know, you kind of learn. We didn't know stuff then. We didn't have the access to
resources
or the internet or anything like that. So basically, we got all the old stuff passed down to us, which was a crock. And so you get people of my age or midlife or whatever, and younger, of course, as well, who are sort of living by these old social mores, and they think, oh yes, well, we have to stay together, but then it becomes an endurance marriage. And so a lot of these people that actually have been married for 50 odd years, now some of them may be very happy, I'm not saying they're not, but the stats show that a lot of the people are probably in endurance relationships, marriages, whatever. And sometimes, and this is very sad to say, but I've had clients say to me, the first time she's felt free is when her husband died.
Yes. I used to be a house cleaner, and that's what I would find. Like when the partner passed on, all of a sudden the spouse began to live. Like they just completely changed to different people.
Yeah, I mean it's sad but true. And you know, some of these people are say in their mid-70s. And it's like all those years of being under the thumb, being controlled, you know, all the
not knowing your
awful
true identity because you weren't allowed that freedom. Yes.
Well, you couldn't have an identity. You just you lose yourself completely in these types of relationships. And there's all sorts of you know, theory behind it, of you know, the conditioned mind and all the rest of it that we as therapists love. You know, we get lost in all that. But for actual clients, it's coming to the realization that there are patterns.
Yes,
there are patterns to this. It is not their fault. I mean, you could arguably say, you know, it takes two, and it might be their fault in terms of they stayed, but then it's not that easy to leave in a lot of these relationships either.
With your toxic relationship recovery, this is not just partners either. So it could be your mother or your father or a friendship, because some of those relationships are stronger than the actual sexual relationship or partner lifelong relationship that you've had.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it may be, I mean, I had a client recently, and it was her sister, and this client was in a terrible state, and a woman I've known for many years, lovely lady, and she was in a terrible state because of the things her sister was saying about her not having children and still carrying on. This lady's about 60 now, and it was so toxic. And I just had to say to her, look, let's look at this behavior of your sister. It's not okay.
Do you believe, and I'm just doing this from a bit of a personal perspective, do you believe that sometimes, even though we know it's a red flag, we don't acknowledge that it's a red flag? It's like it doesn't exist. And even when you get out of the relationship and you kind of look back, you're like, yeah, it was, but was it? Like
absolutely.
Because I still have that with my ex, because my best friend says, oh, I can't believe he did this. And I'm like, I don't remember him doing it like that. But then I see him do it to his current girlfriend. I'm like, there it is. Yes, I do remember it now.
Look, absolutely. And, you know, we're coming from a point where we're trained in various forms of therapy or coaching and have a lot of in-depth understanding. Lay people, of course, are just coming from what they've heard in society or maybe read in a book. So it's very easy to think that something's not a red flag, or to just sort of like give them another go. Oh, well, maybe 3 strikes in the route, you know, kind
doing
of
it for
thing.
The kids or something.
Yeah, but you know, even like with dating, I mean, you know, and I hate internet dating. It's with a passion. Or we won't go down that track. We'd be here all day while I rant. But you know, that's a very good place to meet someone toxic, because they can pretend to be whoever they want to be.
Yeah, because that's our social screen. Yeah. So what are people going to receive if they come to your talk? What are they going to walk away with?
Well, they're going to walk away with a lot of knowledge on how to help their clients who are in situations where they've come out of toxic relationships, narcissistic relationships. I used to talk about narcissistic abuse recovery, and I've been banging on about this for years, actually. But the thing is that some people just don't like that label narcissist. And they go and say, oh, well, you know, I don't want to call my husband a narcissist. Maybe he's not, you know. But anyway, so toxic and narcissistic abuse. So they're going to learn a lot. They're going to get a lot of also psychoeducation into the background of some of these behaviors, and how to help
recognize those red flags.
Yeah, recognize the red flags, but also how to help their clients actually really heal. And now this will also involve the clients healing their own shit, essentially. You know, all the old stuff. And we know that you can't just bounce from relationship to relationship without doing any work on yourself.
That didn't work.
Yeah, well, you know, young people try it, and of course that's fine, because I mean, I'm sure I did it too back then.
Experimenting.
Well, you experiment in a lot of things, Trish, when you're young.
Back in the day.
But now, yeah, you can see as you get older, you see that actually that doesn't work. You're not ever addressing the underlying issues that you yourself have, which are undoubtedly based in the trauma of your childhood.
Yeah, and you're going to be there for the whole conference. So if people have got questions, you're the go-to expert. And if they've got questions and go, oh, blah, 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 I want to be a bit confidential, I 100% believe that you'll be there to support.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so looking forward to coming over to the conference. And I'll be doing a sort of, I don't know what I'm going to call it yet, but like a workbook sort of thing that will help help the therapists, the coaches, whatever, know what to talk about with their clients, even give them sheets they can give out possibly to their clients. So kind of a bit of it will be done for you. And just to make it a bit easier.
Absolutely love it. I cannot wait to see you in November. It's gonna, as soon as I see you, I'm gonna be like, so
I know, it's so exciting. Can't wait.
Thank you, everybody, for joining in on this talk, and we'll see everybody at the Australian Hypnosis Conference 2024. Bye-bye.